All right, so we're having another amazing panel here, and yes, we've got another outsider. No, not of course. We've got another international guest here joining us, amazing Aussies. So we've got Mike Tharp from America. We've got Alexander from Brisbane, who is the founder of the Mind Paradigm. We've got Aaron Byerly from Southeast Queensland. We've got Kylie Thomson from the Whit Sundays, and we've got Johan. Thank you very much for joining us, panel. I love to just go around the horn, get you to do a 30-second introduction, and what is one thing that nobody knows about you. Mike, since you're our international guest here in this panel, I'd love to go to you straight first. Mike Tharp.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on here, Jeff. I was a history, government economics teacher and special education teacher for 17 years. I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I have 2 amazing teenage boys, and I somehow fell into internet online marketing back in 2020 and was able to retire from teaching then. So now I just get to have a blast, lots of traveling, spending time with my boys, and leading my team in different entrepreneurial activities. So excited to be here with all these legends.
Thank you, Mike. And Aaron, let's go to you, champion.
Yeah, good to see some familiar faces here. Thanks for having me, Jeff. Look, I'm based here in the Sunshine Coast in Australia. Done many different things from direct sales to property. We've just recently bought a 30-acre farm here on the Sunshine Coast. So 2 boys, 9 and 10, running around, cows. But, I love the entrepreneurial space. I love building in different cultures all around the world. And, whether it's property, whether it's online, I tell you what, sometimes it's a steep learning curve where you go to bed one day and you wake up and you got to catch up with AI. And so you're always chasing this new technology, but it's fun. It's great to be here. And looking forward to the panel and all the different insights.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate you. And my beautiful friend from the Whit Sundays, Kylie Thomson.
Oh, good morning, everybody, or good evening if you're on the other side of the planet. So hi, everyone. I'm Kylie Thomson. I'm also known as Kick-Ass Kylie. So I am a mum of 2 teens. I have 3 crazy cavoodles. I identify as a mermaid. I live here in the beautiful Whit Sundays in my tree house. And my background, so at one point I owned 13 gyms. I was the head coach of the National College of Business, which is where I met Jeff. And one day I just woke up completely in a life that I didn't love and a life that I didn't sign up for. And so I decided to sell everything. I traveled the world with my kids. And now what I'm really passionate about is working with entrepreneurs and business owners to help them create a life of freedom to make the impact and the income that they want, but without sacrificing their soul. So absolutely honored to be here and lovely to meet you all.
No, lovely to meet you here. And I see that you are the rose between all the thorns.
I know, right? How lucky am I? There's the token female.
Well, we did have Amanda McCloy joining us here, but she's not here today. So Amanda will give her an apologies. But, this is it, right? The show must go on and life goes on. So, Johan, I'd love for you to do your introduction, champion.
Hey, bud. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jeff, for having me here. Really appreciate it. I'm a tech investor. I've been in the AI game for 4 years now, and we build a lot of technology software. My company, we had 100 people at one point. It's just changing the world right now. We've got 2,500 digital agencies that use our software, and I just love the space, love being here, love helping people. So, looking forward to this panel. Thanks, Jeff.
Brilliant, thank you, Johan. And Alexander, over to you. And you're muted, Alexander.
Thanks for having me here. It's just been a phenomenal week, and just to be here is just an honor. So thank you so much. My background, it started as a young kid. I was in the emotional and physical pain paradigm. So my whole life, or the last 40 years of my life, have been researching and understanding what happens in our mind and our body and how we express ourselves and the pain paradigm, and it all encompasses as the mind paradigm. So that's been my research, and this is my passion and purpose in life. So thanks for having me here.
And when I think of the definition of leadership, and I have to put a visual example, all of you are definitely up there in that amazing example. And I've been able to be privileged and blessed to have each and every one of you have an impact on my life, whether it's just been recent or it's been over the last couple of decades. And so it's been a blessing to be here with you all today. So I'd love to just dive into this. with, most of us are all had some influence online, on the Facebook, on social media, right? So with so much noise online, how do you stay authentic and lead with integrity while scaling your message and your business? Kylie, we'll go to ladies first.
Wow, I get to go first. Thank you so much. Well, I absolutely love this topic, Jeff, and I'm a little bit passionate. And I know we've got some techie AI people online, so I'm just going to speak from my heart. The biggest thing that really frustrates me at the moment is there's so much AI that you actually can't tell sometimes if the message is real or not. So I love this question. And for me, video is the next best thing to showing up belly to belly, right? And it's speaking your truth. It's actually showing up, allowing your personality to shine. And so I shared a little message online the other day. There's 3 key things that we need to do when we're sharing our message online. One, we have to share an educational piece that's going to give your people an aha, that's going to set you up as an authority in your space. The second thing is your message needs to feel like it's a hug from your heart. With so much automation, people need to feel that you really care about them. And we do that obviously through copy, speaking their language, but also like coming from that place of love so that your message is like a hug for their soul. And the third thing, let your personality shine. Like, if you swear. Like, you don't have to be perfect, professional, pretty, just let your absolute personality shine through and make it fun. So there you go. There's my 30 cents worth.
Brilliant. So just be you. I love it. And Alexander, with so much noise online, how do you stay authentic and lead with integrity?
I'll have to go with what Kylie said. Even Mike Gostola said it so well. It's about finding yourself instead of going mentorship, which is the big thing that I like to teach people, is about self-mastery. So the more you can find yourself in this whole in the weeds or in the jungle, the more you find yourself and the more you can actually talk from your heart. I think more and more people are looking for that instead of just being a copy of somebody else. Last thing someone wants is to hear the same message in the same words, in the same tone as somebody else. They really need to see that you are here to be yourself, because I think that encourages others to be themselves. And in the whole mind paradigm, we're here to teach self-mastery. And we all have our own authentic fingerprint, as I like to say it. So we want to shed away all those things that are in the way that are stopping you from being yourself and hiding into it from a mask. So I think the more we can expose that, the more people are going to connect with you.
Brilliant insight. And Aaron, over to you.
Yeah, I think everything that Mike was saying and the guys are saying, I mean, being authentic is the key, particularly now. The green screen reading a script days are long gone. So turn your phone around and just walk around your backyard. People want to understand you and your family and see your dog. But I think one thing that online entrepreneurs miss is the consistency of it. And so you see a lot of people that do a video, then they go, right, I'm going to get real consistent. And they'll do a video every day for 3 days, and you don't see them for a month. And that's why you see a lot of the mentors and mastermind groups do, hey, let's do a 90-day video challenge to really keep the people accountable on that consistency, because the algorithms are going to love you if you're consistent. Your audience is going to love you if you're consistent. But it's not just about posting regularly too. Have a consistent message. So really sit down and have a think about what your brand is and what your message is and who is your key audience. And if you can get your audience doing this every time you're talking, because they're nodding, going, this is me, this is me, this is me, and you're relating to them that way, people will subscribe to you, they'll follow you, and then you can get that message out. But if you're always changing companies, you're always changing niches, you're always changing what you believe in your message, it's going to be very confusing to your audience. So who is your audience? Be consistent with it. Be yourself. There's only one you. That's the strength that you have, and use that to your advantage.
Yeah. Let your mission be the main thing, and just keep on focus on that. It's okay to change the win to the sales, but you've got to keep on that mission. That's the thing that keeps us on that North Star, right? Mike, I'd love to hear your insights in this conversation. This is a masterclass in itself.
All right. Yeah, you guys didn't leave me too much to go over. I scratched off my top 3 things I was going to talk about, but I think one that you guys might have missed is being vulnerable. And I think especially in this day and age where everyone wants to put out this life is perfect, I got no issues, I got no problems, I think your authentic self really comes out when you're vulnerable, when you're saying, I don't know all the answers, or I made mistakes. Because I think that's the easiest way to connect with people, because then they see, oh, this guy isn't perfect. He doesn't have it all together. He is just like me. And that kind of opens them up and allows them to, learn something new or try something different that maybe they're not comfortable with, because you've shown them, no, it's okay to fail. And that I always say, embrace the pain, right? You're not going to go up until you go down first. And until I learned to embrace that pain when, bad things kept happening, that's when I really saw my life change and a lot more success come. And the last thing I'll mention is you have to provide value. Anytime you post or do anything online, I always ask myself, am I doing this to make myself look better or look good? Or am I doing it to provide value and help people somewhere in some aspect?
Yeah, great. I love it. And so it becomes a being of service, not just about how I can gain, right? I love what Gary Vee has done, in the influencer space here, where he documents more than he promotes, and put himself in that position to be the guide on the story. Johan, I'd love to hear your insights.
Yeah, man, for sure. So I think we've all had access to ChatGPT for about 2-3 years now, right? Time has been flying, and anyone can go on there and build out something that sounds incredible. But people can, within a month, everybody knew when something was written by ChatGPT. So you cannot BS the human brain. It can find patterns and see things. So there's never been a time like this before, because being available to go on screen, being available to go online with your camera, right, all day, every day. And as Aaron said, be vulnerable. Share everything. You cannot BS that. And what happens is the algorithms will find your audience, and people will connect with you, because that's what they're doing. They're feeding us. We're meant to be on. We all have ADD now, and we're on there and scrolling and going, wow, there's another person like me. So we have another brand called Influencer Empires. And on this, we interview the most successful influencers. And there's a gentleman on there. He's built a page on Facebook, a group, I should say. 3.5 million people in 1 year. He said, when has that ever been possible? There's another guy who just started an AI group, and all he talks about is the latest and greatest AI stuff. 500,000 people in, I think it's 6 months. So in order to find your audience, it's so easy to do that right now. All you got to do is identify who you are, post about it online, and your people will be attracted to you thanks to the algorithms.
Yes, I love that. And you remind me, we've got a really awesome influencer who is a mutual friend for a lot of us here in the AI space, Austin Armstrong, coming up in an interview in a couple of days. I'm really looking forward to that. This guy has built over 1 million followers on Facebook, just doing exactly what you described, Johan, in that space. Cool. I'd love to dive into this whole conversation about being authentic and real and raw and vulnerable. What is a book that has inspired you to grow in this space? When I think of a book that has come to the top of mind for me, it's Brené Brown, Atlas of the Heart. Now, I don't want us to all go back to, an inspirational book like Think and Grow Rich. That one's been done to death. So let's just park that one up on the shelf. What is a unique book that has helped you to grow in this authentic space, in this vulnerable, raw, real space? Alexander, let's go to you.
Well, that goes that one. I've always liked the simplicity of the prophet. That just, for me, that nailed it. I read it many years ago. Probably was about 20 years ago when I read that. And I actually want to explore that again. I guess for me, and also The Richest Man in Babylon was another one that it was more about leading people into being wealthy themselves instead of I'm going to show you how to follow my wealth. Does that make sense?
Yes.
For me, it was, and that's what inspired me is, that whole self-mastery thing. It's like that these books have been teaching me how to express myself better. Now, as a teenager, I went through a lot of pain, as in debilitated pain, and the more I started exploring who I was, where I am, what am I doing, and for what purpose, the more I explored that, the more the pain just went away. And that was me, I guess, being myself. And that's what I now lead others is to do the same thing. So they're the two things, I guess, two books that really inspired my self mastery and asking myself who is it that I am.
Yeah, brilliant book. And Johan, what's a book that has helped you to be inspired in this space, and what was the impact on your life?
Yeah, for sure. Back in 1996, I read this book called Unlimited Wealth by Paul Zane Pilsner, and that book basically, in a summary, is hey, there's wealth all around you, and all you got to do is stop and pick it up. And so it removed the scarcity, and there was no, once scarcity is removed from your life, you realize we're here to serve, and the more people you can serve, back to Jim Rohn, the more people you can help achieve their goals, the more you're going to get in return, right? So having that foundation back in 1996 has shaped my entire life and made such a big difference and impacted so many people.
Brilliant book. I have to read that one. I don't think I've read that one yet. Mike, over to you, champion. What's a book that's really helped you to grow in this space, and what was the impact on your life?
Yeah, I wanted to think of something that is just out of the blue that, a lot of people wouldn't know. And when I work with people, I always begin my video with, this is Michael Tharp, EDU. It starts with you. So I'm always focusing on self-development, getting your mindset right. To me, I learned that as a teacher, even as you have to start with mindset. Every class I taught, it wasn't math or science or history. The first 10 minutes, we focused on the student's mindset. So one of my favorite books, and I highly recommend you guys read it, is there's a rapper / producer called Russ. And he wrote a book called It's All in Your Head. It's just got a yellow cover, super simple, easy read, really short chapters. Because, a lot of people don't like to read. And obviously being a teacher, I learned that. So he just kind of goes through his journey and all his struggles and trials he had and his failures of trying to become a rapper and an artist, people doubting him the whole time. I pulled up two of my favorite quotes here. He says, "You can't use me against me. By being honest, I flip my vulnerabilities into victories." And this one really stuck with me too when I read the book. "This world doesn't bet on talent. It bets on people who bet on themselves. The world rewards confidence and belief, period." So those two things, I think, really summarize the book. But because it's such an easy read, I highly recommend, if you're struggling in those areas of self-belief and, embracing that pain, as I always say, Russ, It's All in Your Head. Amazing read.
Brilliant. And Aaron, what's been a book that's impacted your life, champion?
It's been a while since I've got into the books. I mean, I built my whole personal development and my learnings in the beginning on VHS and books. And I would just read book after book after book after book. And then probably in the last 5 years or so, I've been more of a podcaster and following people on YouTube. And so a couple of people on YouTube, like Myron Golden, I'm not sure whether you guys follow him, but when we talk about, nodding when someone's talking, I started watching Myron Golden a few months ago on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, this guy has some information that and he just spoke to me with a lot of the things that he stands for are the same things I do. But, I guess Gary Vee along the journey really inspired me to answer your question, Jeff, to give you that permission to show and not just tell and be yourself. I mean, if anyone's been the self, it's Gary Vee. And I tried not to like him in the beginning, like, this swearing thing, like, why do you have to swear? And then in the end, just every time he talks, he makes sense. He has a lot of wisdom. And so I guess that, really gave a lot of people permission to go, you know what, I'm going to go and find myself and be myself and show and not tell and be consistent. And, his story is amazing. He, back when he was in the wine club, he just did a video every single day for a year. And that's really what took him from being an unknown guy sitting behind a counter in a wine shop to, the wine guy, but then also something much bigger as, an entrepreneur, and, the rest is history. So, I love Myron. I love Gary Vee. I'm more of a podcast YouTube guy in the gym these days. I find that I'll open up a book to go for it, and I'm just so busy up here with ideas and so many things to do. I almost feel like it's a waste of time. So if I'm in the gym, I'm in the gym anyway. I may as well listen to something and educate myself rather than listen to music. And so that's kind of my gig.
Yeah, I love it. And, readers are leaders and leaders are readers, but at the same time, you're still getting that inspiration, that wisdom, what it's really all about from the podcast is just a different expression. It's a different vehicle. I love it. And Kylie, what's a book or a podcast that has impacted your life to help you to become more authentic and real and raw and vulnerable?
Yeah, so look, the first book that came to my mind was The Power of Vulnerability by Brené Brown. And, you know, vulnerability really is the greatest form of courage. And when we show up as leaders and we're being vulnerable, then that gives others permission. And then once we get out of our heads and into our heart and get rid of all the BS, you know, that's when we can really connect heart to heart. And that's what it's all about, right? Whether we're working with our clients or, you know, it's a marketing message. But there's another book that I wanted to share that maybe people haven't heard of, and this actually really made a profound difference in my life. So I remember when I had one gym and I was heading to Bali and I wanted to grow. My vision was 100 clubs, and I was going to this entrepreneur school in Bali and I was on search for a mentor. And I was placed in this group with this guy that we just kept headbutting. It was doing my head in. And at the end of it, I went up to him and it was like literally the last day. We're about to go to the airport and go home. And I said to him, John, like, we've obviously been like, you know, this the whole way through, but I feel I just had to come and, you know, make peace, say good day, and just ask, like, who the heck are you and what do you do? Well, he was the founder of a massive company called Cold Rock Ice Creamery, which many of you may have heard of. And they had over 200 franchises. So, yes, he offered to be my mentor. He's passed away now. But he introduced me to this incredible book, and it's called The Saint, the Surfer, and the CEO by Robin Sharma. And for me, that was all about getting out of my head. And, you know, we kind of think that we have to be this serious, you know, leader that's running this company and it's all about success. Well, that was the old me. And what I learned through this book, The Saint was all about faith. And the surfer was all about making it fun. And of course, the CEO was actually the CLO, which was the Chief Love Officer, and to do everything with our hearts. So that book really has just made a profound difference in how I run my businesses.
And so Kylie and I have actually been friends, business colleagues, mentors to each other over the last 16 years. And I've just loved watching your journey evolve from that space to where you are now. Beautiful. All right, so I want to dive in. We've got about probably 7 minutes left together, and I want to tackle this whole conversation around the imposter syndrome that, you know, as when we get into this space, you know, leadership for this first time especially. So for our audience that's listening, what advice would you give to someone stepping into leadership for the first time, especially where imposter syndrome can really take root and help them to stop them from preventing to be the person that they need to be? Mike, we'll go to you first.
I'm going to go ahead and pass on this one. I want to hear what these other experts have to say first. I'm a little unfamiliar with that term, so I'm gonna just sit back and get educated here.
That's cool. Well, that's a great leadership example right there. So thank you.
I'm being
Mike,
vulnerable, right? That's what I'm supposed to be here.
Raw.
Are we in the trust tree? Are we in the trust tree?
That's it. You know, it's reading the room, right? So thanks, Mike. I appreciate you. Aaron, can you help us to unpack that question? And guys, let's help educate Mike with the whole term imposter syndrome.
No, you see, Mike's smart. I saw Tony Robbins the other day do a video about one of his great mentors, and he always said, "Be the last person to speak in the room." So Mike he's just playing it smart. Look, I think at the end of the day, yeah, if you're stepping into something new, if you're scared to turn around the phone and get on camera, if you're stepping into a leadership role, you just got to ask yourself this one question. You can stay where you are right now and do nothing, or you can have a go and see where it takes you. And so we all start somewhere. We've all been through it. Every single one person on this panel has felt like, am I worth telling people something? Do I have something to offer? Who am I to go on camera and go live? And I've had those conversations with myself. In fact, you know, when I started doing all my affirmations seriously, like reading out loud my goals as if I've already achieved them, I felt like the biggest imposter on planet Earth. So I was living in Melbourne at the time. I was dead broke, freezing cold in Melbourne. And I would stand up and say, I'm living in Noosa. It's beautiful, 30 degrees, $1 million just landing in my bank account. Life is great. And you couldn't have felt like a bigger imposter. Like my subconscious was like, hang on, you're freezing cold, broke loser living in Melbourne. I'm like, no, I'm not. And so you got to start somewhere, right? Because you need to become the person that you want to be up here first. There's no point waiting. If you're waiting your whole life, there's no point waiting until you become that leader, that person, that millionaire before you start acting like it. You need to start acting like it straight away and you'll become that person. Same if you're trying to attract your life partner, your dream business, your income, whatever it is, you need to be up here where you already want to go. And so it's normal to feel it, but I'm telling you right now, you just got to get started, back yourself in, be consistent. And within a very short period of time, you'll find yourself where you already are, if that makes sense. So go for it, guys.
Yeah, brilliant. Cool. Yeah. Well, let's go quickly around the room. We've got 4 minutes left, and this is going to fly by, but essentially it's B2 have, right? So Kylie, I'd love to hear your insights.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Well, firstly, if you're struggling with imposter syndrome, it means you're in your head and not in your heart. And so when I remember sometimes I'd stand up at the National College of Business and there were people making, millions of dollars a month. And, so what I did is I created a clearing exercise. So the first thing that you need to do is just take a really big, deep breath. And then you just need to think about the audience and what is your intention? What is it that you want to be? Who do you want to be for them? And then I want you to think about what are the judgments? What are the stories? What are the beliefs that you've made up about your audience, who you're working with, or who you are? And then you've got to ask yourself, well, is that the truth? And of course, it's not, right? So you can ditch that. And then you get to create a new, beautiful possibility of who you're going to be for the people who you want to serve. So that would be my best advice. I've got a full clearing exercise. If anyone wants it, reach out. But get out of your head, get into your heart, breathe.
Brilliant. Love it. And Johan?
Yeah, when I was 21 years old, just out of university, I was awarded with a $5 million project and a team of people who were above the age of 50. Imposter syndrome really kicked in because I was like, who the hell am I to lead a team of 5 people and a $5 million project? I know nothing. These guys have had decades of experience. Well, my professor said to me, hey, you got to level up and you got to be that person who needs to lead this team. So I had to level up. And in a couple of months, I was leading the team and I realized that my education had given me that the foundations in order to do that. Now, another good little thing is, guys, nobody cares. It's a lesson that I was teaching my son the other day. He's not. I said, everybody is so caught up in their own heads, right? They don't care. They're so busy. No one's judging you. You're judging yourself. And so don't worry about it. Just write down your goals, aim for it, and just don't let anybody stop you. Just go for it.
Love that. Nobody cares. And Alexander, in 60 seconds, mate, we're running out of time. So over to you.
Absolutely. So I see it as when your old paradigm is taking over your new paradigm. You want to create something for yourself, and this old paradigm keeps knocking on your door and keeps knocking on your door saying, no, that's not who you are. This is who you are. Okay, so the imposter syndrome is this part of you that you need to resolve. And it could be a belief system. It could be unresolved emotions or something like that that we need to integrate back into our whole so we can actually move on and be that new person that we've decided to be, really becoming that. Again, it comes back to your authentic self, not needing to be anyone that you're not.
Brilliant. And Mike, close us out.
So I'll be totally honest. I've never heard of this. I've never struggled with it, but I think it goes back to my first answer of being vulnerable. I never pretend to be anything out of the ordinary. Like people always say, how do you do all this? I just said, I'm here to help and serve people. And it's just, putting that out into the universe, and then it comes back to you. And even when I was a teacher, I wouldn't just work with special education students on the lower level. I would work with high-end IQ students who I knew were smarter than me. And even as a teacher, I had no problem saying, listen, I know you're more intelligent than me, but there's still some things that I can teach you to help you better your life. So for me, it's just once you're vulnerable, real, and raw, to me, this isn't even an issue.
Brilliant. Absolutely love it. And I think we've all set this up for our next speaker, who is an absolute blessing and a privilege to bring up, Sam Cawthorn. So thank you very much for our amazing panel here. We're going to move on to our next segment. Mike, Aaron, Kylie, Johan, Andrew, I can't wait for our next panel conversation with our Australian Leadership Summit coming up on May 23rd. We'll see you there. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hey guys.
Bye.